on the design team, and it's our design consultant and city staff.
Tina.
And so the intent for today is that we walk through. I want to make sure I get.
It looks like there's, by the way, a group of residents. I don't know if they're coming over. If you want to wait.
They're probably waiting for us to get there, and that's the intent. Is that people can choose to walk with us through the entire corridor, or they can wait along, and we'll engage them at that point in time. It's very informal, and you can point out different design concerns along the way. Everybody here has clipboards. I don't know if you have. Does everybody have a copy of this here? Yeah, you can take those. All right, so let's go. And also, just for everyone, Ed is the lead on this first team here.
So, first team. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Yep. Corway, 66 Corway. No.
So we're just going to start walking. The concept behind this plan is the idea is to provide a safe space. Sure. The concept behind this project is a complete suite. The idea is to provide a safe space for all users of the right-of-way, and that includes pedestrians, bicyclists, and cars. And so this is a pretty good-sized right-of-way, and we think that there are opportunities to make that happen along the corridor. There have been some concerns raised about trees and vegetation and whatnot. The project will attempt to reconcile all the elements, existing elements in the right-of-way to see, to make sure that we have preserved the canopy to the extent that it's possible.
I mean, is there any, like, can you say, like, where does the trees, like, are there spots already you've identified where you'd have to lose trees? Is it that detailed yet?
We haven't gotten that detailed yet.
Yeah.
That's still in process.
Yeah. And would it be, like, one side or the other, or kind of that?
Both sides.
Both sides. Yeah.
So there are two options on the table. We initially started with one option, which was in your flyer right here, which is a dedicated bike lane that's unprotected. And then based on input and comments from the residents, and also it just happens to be that it's a way of preserving as many trees as possible, or in other words, not impacting trees. Then we've are looking at a shared use path, which is a shared bicycle and pedestrian.
Yeah.
Much like you have an Old Cutler Trail.
How many trees do you expect to be impacted?
I don't have that number yet, but as soon as I get it, we'll put it out. We'll identify the trees that will be impacted. We'll identify what we intend to do to address those impacts, and the idea is to preserve all the trees. It may happen that there may be a tree or two that we might look at relocating, or otherwise having to remove. So I'm not going to sugarcoat that. That sometimes happens when you have these projects. But the idea is to come up with a project that will preserve as many trees in the right-of-way as possible and minimize the impact to the roots. Come up with a system that exists that protects the roots, so that you can go ahead and provide a paved surface over the roots. And Dina, do you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, what I was saying earlier is, the canopy that we're looking at is going to be mostly mahogany, live oak, and black olive, the existing tree canopy. The root systems literally go, completely as far as the canopy or further under the street. You can see the road is successfully built over the root systems of trees now. So we're not changing that. And we're going to evaluate each tree on a tree-to-tree basis with our team of arborists and landscape architects and make sure that we're doing the safe and right thing to preserve the tree canopy throughout the process. We just haven't gotten to the tree survey part yet. And we will. It'll be intricate.
So, head on over. Hi, how are you?
Hello, good morning.
We don't have the time.
Who needs the list?
What was it you're looking for?
Yeah. Question was, how we
Now, Debbie. Where's she going?
Thank you so much.
It's in
I'm part of I use this area. I live on.
email address.
I live
Oh, okay, well then we're good. Okay, good. Thank you.
I am with the nonprofit, but I am here as a resident. And I support not taking away the soil, not taking away trees, but putting an accessible road for everybody. This street, yeah. No, actually, the street will be wider. The paths will still be the same. The car lane will stay the same here.
What do you mean?
Ask them. They will stay on this side. On this side.
No. I want to make sure that you guys have accurate information. And for this particular segment, where you live, so we have to treat each segment differently. Every single location, we are, if we deal with it, and it's fine, fine design. So, so for, I don't know if you have this. Okay. So, So, there's two options that are being considered. And we can, depending on where we are, apply a particular option. So in this option right here, this is what we showed at the community meeting that we had on the 25th.
Okay.
And what street is that you show?
This is Alhambra Circle.
But what part of Alhambra?
This is further down south.
That is by Ruan,
This is incorrect.
Robia, and Ancona.
Okay, wait, listen. Let me finish here, okay? So, it's a concept. It's not designed. And you guys have to understand that. We have not designed this project. So, these are just concepts, okay? So, here, this concept includes bike lanes. And what that means is that you would have two travel lanes that would be 10 feet wide. And pretty much that's what you have right here. And then you would have a bike lane.
How wide is the bike lane?
It's 5 feet wide. Now,
How wide is the one
on each side?
there's one on each side. So,
That's like 3 feet.
The one block
so,
away.
All Gables Way, it's not your sway.
so then,
care of it.
okay,
I know.
so then in the
Yeah,
other,
no, I've taken care of a
in
swale.
the other
over on Peru.
concept,
I-
we have,
But it's not,
here's the roadway,
It's city,
and then you see how over here,
our, but
it's,
it's ours, it's the.
you have 8 foot wide, essentially like
Okay.
8 foot wide sidewalks on each side. So,
I don't think you have
yeah, that's a different concept, okay?
You're not important.
So, And so that's what we're asking for.
But what do you do with the trees?
Well, we'll
So
get the unintended
we work all the way around, all the trees.
Oh, you're not in Florida, so we're the most
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's not a, you know, one step. No. In fact, that's something that everyone needs to understand is that, one moment please, is that we are avoiding the trees. We have our landscape, this right here, this is, yeah. She,
They go around the trees.
yes, she is in charge of, part of the team that's in charge of maintaining this canopy. And so we have all of the different people who,
Dina, Bill,
all the
Llewellyn.
experts that we have to consult with
Dina, Bill.
in order to move this project.
The only thing I'm concerned about is when you start doing that, where are a
Excuse me, I didn't
FedEx, UPS, gardening trucks, you know, sometimes you have to park in front of your house.
Company?
Where do they go?
Right. So, just
Because
you are not going to lose parking anywhere along the corridor. That is absolutely not going to happen. We have all over the city, we have swales that are as narrow as 8 feet, which is not what's happening here.
right.
That's not happening here. But so that won't impact you at all.
Excuse me.
So here, do you have this?
Yeah, because I love the bike lane. I don't want the sidewalk. So is there a possibility to have the bike
So
lane
there's
without-
lots of different opinions about how we should do it. And
Okay.
that's going through this process is, you know, we'll work through it. But so what I want to show you here is that we have two different options right now. And the second option came out of discussions with people who live along the corridor, who were concerned about widening the road for the bike lane. So now we're also exploring an option where the roadway, so doesn't apply in this particular
Right.
section, but if you live further south, where you would actually gain 2 feet of swale space to make the road more narrow, so you'd get an extra green, and then over on each side of the road, you'd have an 8-foot shared use path, and it's unidirectional.
I'm not understanding what does that mean.
So you would share the space on the side.
It's a new construction, meaning are you going to take right? So is there a way to do this without disrupting what's already been in place for 75 years, which means homes that have a long swale that won't be impacted, but you can still build a bike lane.
Right, so
that's the only option that I would support.
I understood. So the project includes infrastructure for people who walk and people who bike.
Okay, there's another option to have a shared path that would also be bike, and I've seen it in many other cities.
That's what
without building new sidewalks. My only concern is the disruption to the nature, to the trees, and to the integrity of the. This is what we bought into and what we love is the way it looks with the long green. The approach is gorgeous, particularly when the curves, the curb appeal. That's an intrinsic part. It's a historical part of the south part of this neighborhood. I approve. I think the bike lanes are great. I bike whenever I can.
If you're just
but
painting
to disrupt something that's been there since the beginning of the city is wrong.
Painting the city.
Yeah,
I'm painting on the.
More lines on the street. It's minimal.
Very nice to meet you.
Are you one of the designers?
I'm part of the design team. I'm the assistant public works director.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I was telling him. I was asking them about
We can keep on walking because we've spent a lot of time along this.
Yeah, I have a question. Why are you building another bike path here when you have one street away? On 57th Avenue.
This one connects to the bike path on South Corway, North Corway,
I'll get the FAQs.
and it provides connectivity to the southern portion, up to
So
UM.
it's convenient for a bike rider to. It's convenient for a bike rider
It's a
to.
different experience. If you ride bike on red roads, it's a different experience. It's unsafe. So So it would be one of the
But
ideas
why
of
is
this
it
project is to
unsafe?
provide.
Wouldn't it be less expensive? Wouldn't it be less expensive to monitor the traffic on 57 and to be able to, because there was a reason why that was done there.
I don't think so. There was a reason.
Well, because you don't work,
SDOT
because it's not convenient for you guys to investigate that as opposed to.
JC, somebody wants to.
But somebody decided to, but there has to be, there's a reason why it was done there.
Yes, because SDOT had it as part of the project because there's a requirement to provide complete streets in any state project.
Right.
That's why it's there. And that was a project on 57th Avenue.
Right.
And SDOT
Which
had
is
it
a straight up. So do the back lane on Country Club Water when there's more space and you're not going to impede the flow of traffic here. There's enough traffic here. It's not going to stop traffic.
It's not, but it's going to calm it.
It's not going to calm it. Did it calm it on 57th Avenue?
It's a different story. You can't compare 57th Avenue.
You have to compare it. It didn't stop the traffic on the road. It didn't stop the traffic on the road.
First of all, Alhambra was never meant to be a thoroughfare.
Right.
It's a thoroughfare for people who are traffic that like that.
Not like it is now. I mean, I
And they
live on
roar by here at 40 to 50 miles an hour. 40 to 50 miles an hour. I'm telling you, it's the truth. And then it's morning and evening. All right? I know it's a pretty plan. It's not going to work because it does not take into account the realities of this locale. First of all, this is a historic district. Did you know that? And you're not supposed to do anything to the houses, that's for sure.
Yes, we're not touching anything on private
Yeah, but
property.
you're gonna undercut the roots of these trees, and they're gonna fall over in a hurricane.
So
Yes.
we have our landscape.
No, I live across on Gracious.
Oh, here we go.
I live on the other side of US 1.
Are you an arborist?
I'm a landscape architect. We have 3 arborists on staff. They've come out and looked at these trees. We work with tree roots all the time. So whatever solution we come up with is going to be responsive to the tree roots. We do not want the trees to fall
Oh, the
down.
trees are gonna fall down, I'm telling you that. And that's what's gonna happen. So finally, it's 3 miles, 3 miles. This canopy is
Oh, you're here for the bike lane?
okay? That's because you're undercutting the root system.
We would not do that.
This would be fine if Alhambra were a double thoroughfare like that, okay? In fact, the much safer plan and better plan is to route the bike path down Country Club Prado to meet up with the one that goes to Bird Road. That would be the much better plan because it's divided over there and there's plenty of room. There's no room here. What we're going to have, I'm telling you, we're going to have bikers are going to be in
Show where
danger.
where the actual path would.
So the 8-foot size?
The 8-foot, yeah.
Bikers are going to be in danger. They're going to be in danger because the roadway will be narrow, cars will still speed, right?
So here, this is what Brooke, who works for the city, is wants to show you.
That's extreme.
So-
That takes away from my property and on the city property. That's a swear.
That's 8 feet.
Wait, how much? I don't like that. So, in one of the concepts, what we would do is that this would become a shared space for people who walk and people who ride their bikes. It's called a shared use path, and it would be on each side of the street. We wouldn't touch the roadway at all. So, would be the new edge of the sidewalk, and you cannot see where's Brooke.
Not so long ago, I paid thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to have these sidewalks replaced.
Brooke,
The
can you
people
show
down there
where
in
it is
the
in
rich
relation
houses
to the tree?
haven't had to pay a nickel, and they don't have any sidewalks. You're better off replacing sidewalks than carving up this beautiful old street.
So
You
this
know, I'm
is where.
opposed to it. It's a very, very bad idea.
So I wanted to show you where you would be in relation to the tree.
I think that's a mistake. Very much a mistake.
And
It's a street, the whole frontage of my house.
Okay.
So we're still.
That's how I feel about it. I think many of my neighbors feel the same way.
So we're still 6.5 feet from the
There's
street.
no reason to do this. Look,
The bike
big
path is
problem
going to
is
be
traffic.
is
Can I get
next
There's
your
two
attention?
options, yes.
Oh,
And
sorry,
that's
I
why
didn't
I'm
mean to
explaining.
The big problem is the traffic coming from South Alhambra, where it's double, racing down this street to get to the next light down there, which is
No, so there's two options. One is striping,
one of them
keeping
is to put a traffic calming sidewalk
sidewalk
here.
and adding asphalt to
Yeah.
2 5-foot bike
The
lanes.
first
So
thing you
we'd
could
be
do
adding,
is make
in
a
this case, we'd be adding about 4 feet
to shunt that traffic out to where it's supposed to be on Red Road and 72nd Avenue, 7th Avenue, and the Palmetto. It's not supposed to be coming
So
down.
basically the section across would be 8-foot sidewalk, swale, 20-foot road,
But that is
swale,
not something
8-foot
that
sidewalk.
Miami-Dade County
So
controls, the traffic flow, and that's not something that we
What
can.
So yeah,
happened was the
so
traffic moved
when
on to
you
Red
get
Road.
way
Here,
further
now
south,
we're
way at the
flooding.
very southern
When Red
end,
Road was
the
under
trees
work, I
are
mean,
much
I've lived
closer
in
to
my
the
house,
sidewalk
and
than they are on the road. So it may make more sense at that point to add asphalt
people
to the
moved
bike
here
lane.
and they never moved back.
That's
So
correct.
it's not a situation where this was always a thoroughfare. It
that's why we're
wasn't. It was a
looking at
residential neighborhood.
the middle
It
section
became
has
a
nothing, it's wide
thoroughfare
open,
due to
and
the
it used to be
construction
coconut
of Red
palms.
Road.
So we have
So it
full
wasn't an
flexibility in
intrinsic
the
part
next
of the
section down
design.
by
You're right.
Valencia.
It became that.
What
this
this
section-
project
When Red Road-
essentially does is turn Alhambra Circle into Red Road.
Put them much further away from the already wide sidewalk. We have
Thank
more
you for your
space on this
opinion.
side.
Can I ask a question
Yes,
about?
and actually we should still
Yeah.
keep on walking because
looking at
this
your
particular
Does
location.
the traffic
This would be the yeah, so basically it'd be
I live on the next block.
rather than widen the sidewalk? That by narrowing the driving lanes, it slows the traffic down a little bit?
That is a
That's a benefit.
that's a core that's core to the whole project.
Has that happened in other places?
Yes,
Is
that
there,
is
is
absolutely.
there one on Red Road? Is there a bike lane on Red Road?
There is a bike lane on Red.
Is it slow the traffic?
I don't know what the lane widths are on. They're not 10 feet. I can assure you that.
Right, but whether or
State
not, I
road.
mean, that's something that needs to be explored, whether that has in fact happened.
Well, wait,
Because,
this, what we're talking about is not widening the sidewalks, it's narrowing the driving lanes by painting
yes,
bike
but it
lanes
also,
on there.
but
That's a
apparently it
benefit.
involves doing something with the sidewalks.
No, she's saying
She
there
says
are
the sidewalks,
alternatives.
There's two.
but they are both involved having a sidewalk.
So the it can change from segment to segment. So in some segments we could have the shared use path concept, and in some segments we could have the bike lane. So it would go back and forth.
That makes sense here.
But
because this-
there will be sidewalks. It has to. We cannot provide a segment of the roadway that does not give people the ability to walk.
When is this up for vote?
We'll be balloting in late January, and or not balloting. I'm sorry, polling in late January, and property owners will have a month to send them back to us.
So you're only balloting the people on Alhambra?
No, we this roadway serves the broader community, and so it is the corridor that it's one block that way and out to Redmond. So all of those. Where are you filming this for? He's with Coral Gables Public TV.
Yeah, I knew that.
I deal with it every day. Propose this because I really want
Yeah,
bike
we do
lanes.
like bike lanes.
I
but
don't
we
want.
can't support that.
I don't want a sidewalk
We don't want
where there isn't one yet.
And so part of this project would be to connect so that this is an ADA matter right here.
Yeah,
This would, and also the,
like to make it like that. So.
yes. And so the entire corridor includes repaving the streets.
This is interesting. Gas. Think of gas. Well, I hope you do this.
Well, the sidewalks are, they're a pedestrian infrastructure is part of the project.
Utility gas.
And is the sidewalks going to be on the boat?
It's only really.
Are you going to put that on the boat?
I know. Well, I don't know how far down the gas lines go. So up here, either way, because up here, that's not wide enough to accommodate a 5-foot bike lane on both sides, so they'll have to take a little, either way, they have to take some sway. But down by us, I think it's down on the next segment, it's wide enough to just paint the bike lane.
No, there.
You have to widen it.
There is a certain amount of.
19 and a couple inches.
So in the bike the street thoroughfare is going to be how wide?
Okay.
And how wide is it from your proposal?
From the proposal, it depends on which route you're going to take. It's going to be a shape the street will stay the same.
So here the bike is going to be over there.
We have part of all of this. There's environmental studies that are done. All of that is part of the design. What was your other question? Sorry.
Oh no, you were telling me how wide, you said you have to make the
Oh yes.
asphalt
So
30 feet across.
because yes, so it would be the 10-foot travel lanes, one in each direction, and 5-foot bike lanes. So you always want to design your bike lanes that are adjacent to travel lanes half the width of the adjacent travel lane. So if you had a 12-foot lane, which is not something that we support, you would need a 6-foot.
So in any case, all along the corridor, you have to widen
If we go with the bike lane concept, if it's the shared use concept, then and we widen the sidewalk, but we also widen the
But the bike lane has a sidewalk component.
The project has
slap a sidewalk like that. So there's always something that people do.
Yes.
So in the sections where you don't yet, where the sidewalk isn't connected, you have
Yes, and I'm not sure if you're aware, but there was a resolution passed last year by the city commission that sidewalks would be a wall color. And I'm happy to forward that information. Hi, how are you? You go to Riviera? My name is Jessica. Gables. Do you live in one of these houses here?
Down the street.
Okay. So we're going to get a chance to see what's going on
Sure.
in front of your house?
Sure.
Are you supportive of the project?
No? Why not?
It's gonna go in front of your house? You have a sidewalk?
This is what we're thinking about doing.
That's what we're doing.
You already spent money on surveying, right?
Yes.
Yes, a lot of money. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
we have to survey before we can tell you.
No. You come and say, we're thinking about doing the bike path. We don't have to go into detail.
So,
Why not? Why
you
don't we do that?
don't like the community engagement process that happened in 2004 and 2014. I
What are you talking about?
I started in Coral Gables 7 years ago.
But in this department?
In 2014.
2014. Okay. Well, I'm here. That's my property.
Oh, okay. You want to walk over there?
property somehow. They have let me 5 feet inside my property.
That wouldn't be us. We don't go on
Yes,
private
it was.
property.
And we would ask them why you're doing this. They say, we don't know. You're surveyors.
Our City of Coral Gables staff is on your complaint. I would have to check with them. I'm not aware.
There's a red line. Red?
Yeah.
FPNL should have been red.
No, it was just the surveyors. That's why sometimes you get some doing more.
Usually
Actually, that makes
usually
sense.
red pen is FPNL.
You want to go across?
No, it's all now after the rain. But with the heavy rains that happen.
And I'm sure you feel that you're being antagonized, but please don't. This is our only way to let everything out.
I am.
Okay, so we're like a pressure cooker that was opened before time. I live over there. A few years ago, a bike path blossomed one day on Sevilla. None of the neighbors affected were notified.
That's incorrect. I have the documentation.
Well, I just saw it. My husband is concerned that after Hurricane Andrew, an oak was planted on that side. And I think he told you at the community meeting. And he was very concerned that when that bike path was built, they transferred that 30-year-old oak and it died. It died immediately. That is a major concern for us.
I can understand that concern because when that happened, I will tell you that was that was an error by the contractor, and we should have been taught that. Unfortunately, they did work that was not authorized, and that's not that.
Now I'm going to ask you a question only on my house and this house.
That's the point.
We're gonna jaywalk.
Desiree, we'd like a sign.
Okay. I have a question for you here. If some car is coming, I'm gonna take you over there. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Are you guys filming this for the city?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Hi, Jessica.
Hi.
How are you?
If a vehicle is coming down,
I drive it every single day.
horrible,
I'm very
huh?
well aware.
They use the bike lane. Now, I have a bike lane here. Imagine that I want to turn right to get to my house, and there's another bike lane here. How far out am I going to go? Into the street?
I don't understand.
There's a bike lane here.
Yeah.
I don't need the bike lane. It's illegal. It's illegal. So how far out will I go?
Hi, Emily. Hi, Sylvia. Nice to meet you. Nice 132.
You understand what I'm trying to say? James Donovan having to make a big turn. Anybody, not just me.
Well, actually, our mountains far are actually safer for everybody on the roadway instead of cutting around the corner. That's actually.
I don't cut around the corner, but I'm saying you go out. I have to pull out now to make this turn. Now having another bike path, it's more of a turn. I'm missing space.
I just.
Oh, that's true.
You know what I'm trying to say?
I was trying to say it's just not that. You are turning the same way.
Right.
You have that center line. It's not moving.
Okay, but if there's people that use that lane to turn right, which I see them all the time, they'll use the bike lane. They're going to come into another bike lane. That they're going to come into.
That's where I park. They're protected. I find that safe. The more bicycling infrastructure that we have in the city, and people become more aware of all the different types of users.
What happened to the sign?
The sign, that's where the sign was.
Why did they take it down?
I don't know anything about signs. I don't.
No, but it's a bicycle sign, and you're in the bicycle
I don't know.
implementation.
Wait, I don't know what you're talking about. There's all signs all over the place. What sign are you
On
talking about?
October 2nd, at 10:20 in the morning, there was a sign, a bike path metal posted sign that was removed. And I called Public Works, and no one could give me an answer. Why it was just like that?
Oh yeah. So we have an overall citywide effort to reduce the number of signs in the city. And early on, when some of these like lanes were signs, they were here. So Yeah, I just explained to her because there's a citywide sign reduction program, and there were too many signs on the street.
Wow. Right before we had this war.
No, they started.
So it's like 10 days ago.
Okay. Are we just
Keep moving.
across now? Oh, okay.
We haven't picked up anybody else.
So is that going to be the case?
So there's two options that we're exploring after meeting with people along the corridor that were concerned about various matters. And one of the options that evolved was two shared use paths. So
One on each side?
correct. So we would actually, this segment's a good example where you would add 2 feet of swale space, and then this would become the 8-foot shared use path.
So no bicycle lane on the street. Okay, so yeah, I have enough.
Okay.
Yeah, I just folded it up. But...
And in the image,
Okay, so
yeah.
so how do you? Okay, so I mean I've been hearing good things about that. So how do you guys select which one goes out on to be put on the ballot?
Well, what we're doing is, you know, we have to do actual engineering. Right now, we've only gone to 10%, so there's not really engineering that has happened. So as we go through the corridor, meet with residents, figure out the fine design details, that's when we would be, because it would be a overall design, because from one side, it's not a one size fits all.
So it could be shared use sidewalk here, but striped bike lane in another segment.
That is a
How do
possibility.
you determine that? Like, how do you determine what options?
It's through the actual design process. We haven't gone through the design process. We're in the design. So all we've done is 10% of the work, where there's no high school kids do the work up to. So this is where we really get into the next phase would be where we really get into the design.
So I'll have you say that our consultants are not high school kids.
They are not high school kids. They are licensed.
Even though they look pretty young.
I was told there's a study that there's a bike path. It makes people slow down.
So what makes people slow down are narrow roadways. So we have a wider roadway here. So ideally, you have 2 10-foot travel lanes. 10-foot travel lanes usually slow people down. So you feel constrained when you go slow.
Everybody's
Best way I can describe it.
So that's not unique to this one.
They drive more slowly there.
Here's something to think about.
There's 2 options.
If you design
So
the neighborhood
one of
so
the
that every
options
trip
is
has
the
to
bike
be done
lanes where you have 2 10-foot, like 2 10-foot travel.
I know you don't. But if you do that,
And So it would be a 10-foot travel next to a 5-foot.
That's the big problem.
Okay? So I understand what you're saying. The pavement width is wider. In this option here, you would add 2 feet of grass out this way, so you can get the roadway to be more narrow. And here, this would be 8 feet wide, and it would be a shared space for people who walk and bike. And it would be it'd be striped there, so it's unidirectional. So if you are a person who's riding a bike, you will be on north, you're on this side.
So this,
Just like it would be
this
a travel.
becomes wider and it becomes the cart path.
And for people walking and people on bike.
That will become narrower.
That becomes narrower, yes.
That's like one suggestion or one plan.
Yes.
And the other plan is this. Because I believe this would make people drive faster.
I understand that, and this
To me,
here,
this is a residential road. I have my kids, I live right through the way. And I don't want people driving 40 miles an hour.
neither do we.
Yeah.
We absolutely don't. And so that's how this option came to be, because we were talking about neighbor to neighbor.
They're very hesitant to ride that type of traffic calming control on a collective road. On the residential side,
I have a 9-year-old son, and he does this with me all the time.
Yeah. 31?
Yeah, so we're a couple of houses down.
My pleasure,
Nice
my
to meet
pleasure.
you.
How are you? Yeah, I'm sorry. Abe Shimon.
I'm Anna.
This is my son Gabriel.
You have 2 kids?
We have, I have a daughter. She's 11.
I went to the the flyer, right? And you got the FAQ.
Yeah. I've been looking at all of it.
Excellent. See, here's right. This is an issue.
How did this come about? Like you stop the sidewalk right there.
What happens is that when we built the house, we were required to build the sidewalk. For some reason, that is not required.
Oh, that house was not.
It could have been before, right? So it stops right there. And see, that right there, that that is
It's part of the project, so we have to move storm drains.
Got one here and here. Now we must storm drain.
So that's actually, sorry.
And the right of way is owned by the public.
Yeah, what's that?
Owned by the individual homeowner.
I can't hear you.
You don't count that.
It's not 10 o'clock.
I understand.
Yeah, wait. Okay. Oh, no, you're not supposed to start until 10. Okay. So,
the idea right now is
it's a complete project.
I understand that. My question is, where does the
project like drains? Right. So that would we figured that out in design. We have only done very preliminary work here, and so all of the figuring out where the drain goes is part of the design.
Well, it has to come in this direction. It can't go into the street.
The government. Yeah, we doesn't.
So it's got to come this way.
Well, it depends because we have multiple options, and I'm not sure that well, we have
it's a much wider street down there, so it looks like, hey, it's not going to be able to pick up this. It's narrower already. So this gives you a false impression.
So I understand what you're saying.
You didn't show this up here.
We have drawings. We have
I
pictures.
know, but you didn't show the people. That's
well,
what I'm saying. You showed it just which is favorable to you.
So we're here to work through this with you right now, and so that was the first gloss over, and so you can. We're going to work here.
No, I understand what you're saying, but first gloss you should have said there are two options. We have wider streets out the Bird Road. This is what we're looking at. We have another problem north of Bird. It's narrow, so it's not going to look like this. You only showed this.
That's what we, right. So we're going to work through all of that now.
And the other thing I was wondering about was
are you going to be down there in time? Yeah. Do you have water? Of course. Mine's water's in my car.
Yeah, I love mine too.
But I just don't like the way it's going to grow. What's going to happen with this tree from this? You have the tree man.
This is the tree man right here. So this is a different option here. Yes, we're right there. Making the green space come out here. So you make more green this way. And then this sidewalk had his dad. That's what the tree man right here works.
So,
Hi, Brian. I figured you were a police officer.
So here, on how did it happen to the location?
so this is 8 feet here. So this is a 6-foot sidewalk. We widen the sidewalk to 8 feet on both sides, and then the asphalt would be narrowed to 20 feet right now.
So you have more green space that way, and then this would come out here. So this would be essentially, this would be the change. This 2 feet here and 2 feet up.
And then you would remove asphalt, so the road would go to 20 feet, because right now it's probably about 24 or so right now. If you measured it.
20 feet, if you measure that straight over there, it's about 20 feet. Have you ever tried driving on that street coming in to here? It's very, very narrow. I mean, extremely narrow.
It slows traffic down. That's part of it.
So there's studies that shows that it might slow down a mile an hour. Narrow street. Go on one of these side streets, going up 20 feet, and say, oh, this is going to be our new Alhambra. It's going to only be 20 feet wide, but it's going to slow the traffic down.
Yes, that is actually makes sense to slow the traffic down.
1 mile an hour.
Yeah, we have lots of data that we collected, and we're getting an average of about 37 miles per hour.
But the average, Jessica, I mean, an average is kind of misleading. When a car is going 50 miles an hour, which they often do, it's too fast.
Absolutely. We absolutely know that there are people traveling 50 miles per hour on this road.
Yeah.
That does happen.
Yeah. It happens. I mean, we see it a lot, and I would love bumps or something.
So traffic calming is part of the project. Part of that traffic calming is narrowing the roadway, and part of the traffic calming is adding roundabouts at particular locations. We cannot put vertical traffic calming on the roadway. This is a collector street, so we cannot put the vertical change on collector street.
A vertical is a bump.
Can you put can you put speed bumps on collector streets in? You can't. So what? Again, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. What is your way to reduce the traffic?
So not to reduce traffic, to reduce the speed of people who drive.
Okay.
Is to, one of the options we were just talking about is that the green goes out 2 feet this way to narrow, and then this here becomes a shared use path and come out to this.
So you make 8-foot sidewalk, and then the asphalt becomes 20 feet instead of 24 or whatever.
So this becomes the bike path.
Right.
Yeah,
This becomes the
Shared on each side of the street. So
Why do you need two?
because you need to go one in each direction.
So if we'd have to go up to about 10 feet in order for it to be used for both
I see.
directions.
So if it's 6 feet or
if we do
8
8
feet.
feet on both sides with both bike lanes on the road, then you can, it gives you more capacity.
One question I have, because this was designated historic, right? This is a historic corridor. So do you have to go to the Historic Preservation Board to get
We work
permission?
with Historic to work through this project.
So you've already gone to the board?
Well, Historic is aware of, no, we haven't been to the board yet. The Historic is aware of the project. They had to weigh in on the grants. They gave me
So there is so historic, there'll be a paper for historic that they were consulted for the grant? Is that what you're saying?
Well, they're in the grant that says, you know, this is the
So we have a historic department, and then there's a board.
No, but I just want to be, and I'm sorry, because I know that this is Merrick, because a lot of these streets, like Merrick built a lot of these houses, and a lot of his workers lived in these houses. So my question is, because it was designated a corridor, by the way, Jessica, I read, it's just the historic. Because my house is historic. To me. Yours is. So when a house is designated historic, in order to basically change a panel, you have to go to the city. So I would assume that since it's a historic corridor, that you have to get whatever permission it is from the historic board, right?
Donna Spain is the expert. I don't want to speak for her.
Right.
But what the process is, you have to speak with Donna Spain.
Okay, so you don't know the implementation.
So we care of lots at that point in time until they designate a new.
But what you're saying is that they're already. So can I just stop you again, because I want to be sure about before you keep walking.
We can keep on walking because we have to get through. We got
What
people
time
that
is
are
it?
waiting for us.
What time is it?
It's 9:50.
Oh, so we're on schedule. So I just want to understand the process, because since this is a historic corridor again, and I want to make sure that I'm understanding what you're saying, I don't want to misinterpret. You're saying that the historic board has already
I want to go.
been, like, they've already inputted and said that you guys, it meets all the quality. No, I'm talking you as the implementation person.
I have not gone to the Historic Preservation Board yet.
Okay, that's what I want to know. So there is no historic preservation board. Okay, thank you.
Right on the sidewalk has its
My house.
It's beautiful.
So we're all the way, you would be all the way over here with the sidewalk?
So it would line up with where everybody else's sidewalk is there.
Mitch, when was your house built?
1942. 41.
This your house?
It's not a historic designation.
So this house has looked this way for 70-some years.
My house was built in 1925.
Yeah.
And they were driving Model Ts that had a maximum speed of 21 miles an hour from my street. Down my street, I don't think it was serious.
Yeah, no, they have to add a lot of sidewalks.
Those historic cars, in fact, we required everybody to ride a Model T because the historic safety conditions. Hey, Jessica, thank you for doing this. This is informative and useful, getting people out in the full space.
Oh.
But on the right side, there's no sidewalk.
There's sidewalk on the
No,
right.
no,
I'm
past-
saying there's a sidewalk on the other side of the street, not on this side of
No,
the street.
on the other side, the sidewalk only goes
It ends,
through
right.
Broad.
That ends there
So
too.
what they did was they actually have sidewalk on either. There's sidewalk going down, you just have to switch sides.
Yeah, and there's
That's
no
fine.
crosswalks.
Crosswalks. I like crosswalks.
That,
I'd like to have camera enforced crosswalks so that every time somebody disregards it, I'm running with my dog, they get a ticket mailed to them.
that sounds like a good
To me, the biggest priority, the biggest gap is when you go around and you're on a golf course and you get to Anderson, and then you have to walk in the mud or cross the street. My dog goes crazy if we walk on the golf course side. So I wait across the street. There's no crosswalk. And there's one at Saragossa, but not at
Morning.
but there's not one at Anderson. There should be a crosswalk at Anderson, but I'd rather see
You follow for example,
have a golf cart part of the way, but not all the way.
But you depends on how continuous or towards one. Just
Are we in a rush?
Sorry?
bring the audio. You might have to bring the audio over to the top.
So public. So that
Yeah, over to the top.
public.
This is really. It's weird though. It kind of there's a little section in front of a wall. Just that, like that's. They must have civic mindedness. If you have a wall.
It's weird because like here there's extra wide sidewalks and then
it gets, I know, my husband, you're so perceptive. Yeah, my husband says the same thing. He's like,
No.
Water.
I just have one little.
That is something that, as part of every project, regardless if it's just a community service, that's safe and
All these parks, that's just part of every lime green, so it makes us much safer. Yep.
well, so bicycle lanes,
And that's a Florida statute? Hi, how are you? We evaluated, okay.
Yeah, but isn't there a requirement, maybe you can answer that, within 500 feet, people that live there have to be notified if there's changes to the street, like for example, the bike path in Seville. Weren't the people right next door to Seville, wouldn't they have to have been notified? Okay, I'm not talking about I'm talking about the one that was going to see the bike path. Okay. Desiree, she lives right next door to, she's on Alhambra, right next to Sevilla. Is she at Sevilla? Nor her next nor have her neighbors
But we always say, how would you get extension?
Yeah, I'm not blaming you, but you
I don't know what happened.
I can look at we can always ask for extension.
I would get and you know what's funny? More cars, vehicles use that right way than cyclists. Because when they're all the way from the Billboard Hotel to the light on 57th, they will use that bike lane to cut through because they don't want to wear it.
Identify.
So it's you see my address is 2715 Alhambra Circle.
Have a grant. As part of this process, we may realize that when discussing with people, certain changes may need to be done, so that may actually push the line a little further. We want to make sure we get it right.
Jessica's like said that the project has to include the sidewalk, and that's the part I'm concerned about.
So
painting the street or widening it by a foot or two doesn't make any difference.
Right, this is a collector. The city commission approved the construction of sidewalks in collector streets. That's been approved and funded. In addition to that, this is part of our bike master plan that got approved in 2014. So, and the grant is associated with the, so we're looking at either bike lanes or shared paths, and those are the options that we're weighing in. And this is part of the conversation that we're having with you guys here today.
Well, that's a very good question, and what I can tell you is that a lot of the problems that we have right now in swales, in terms of what you're telling me, we have water collected on your sidewalk.
It goes right into my
into your driveway and into your property. So I'm pretty sure that if I go visit you,
Yeah, that'd be great if we
I will see something like this, if not maybe worse, where the swale is actually higher than the pavement. Right?
They're behind.
I'm not a down. I'm not,
Yeah, absolutely. I think
You're at the low point, right? You're at the low point, so maybe we need that drainage. But also what happens quite a bit is that you see how you have the front of road?
Yes.
And you have a low point right here. All this drains into the swale, and it also, the swale is supposed to be able to capture. But if the swale is built up and there's like a berm, what's going to happen is that water is going to run along the edge of pavement and find the low spot. And it's going to collect on the sidewalk. So we'll look at your house and see, determine what we can do, but I have a feeling that that's what happens. So what happens is over the course of time, you add sod and you add sod and you add sod, and while you're doing that, you're raising the level of the swale, and you're creating like a dam at the edge of pavement. And that's why
that is
but if it's possible that since you're at a low point, maybe actually
it's 8 feet wide, yeah. I mean, it is
right. Your name?
Now, let me ask the names. I'll have to ask for
No, just somebody so we know who's here from there. I haven't seen them.
Jessica's in the car going to get
Oh, good. Oh, great.
It is.
Oh, maybe they would have brought me a water. Yeah, I asked for water too. I know.
This is the second. We're just waiting for the second leg.
So we said 1,500.
Okay, great.
And we had 37 returns.
They are.
So that's really great. Consultants are here.
Oh my God, my little friend. I'm Sylvia. What's your name again? I'm the one that attacked you. No, my God.
Is there any other questions?
Hi, Chris. Okay, so you're walking with us to get input from us, or okay, because everything is at the planning stage yet. Okay, and can you? I did. That's my husband. So whatever questions we have about the trees or anything, you can also help us with. Right. Okay.
And then city arborists and land.
Okay, wonderful.
We're not even to the phase yet that we're engaging to do our tree surveys in the spring during the design process. So we're not even that far along. But we're going to be evaluating with the consultants every tree case by case to make sure that there's a good path.
Okay. And how about the historic designation?
There's always going to be
have anything to do with that?
And I can tell you that
because it is deemed historically what you can and can't do. Is that something that you're advised on? Okay.
You drive the same way everywhere you drive.
Okay.
That's where you are. Yeah, we're not. You'll drive like that anywhere.
But I think there's questions.
Full, like,
Right. Compared to the cyclists.
Is that an outside source that does or is that the city itself?
Because of the funding and some study of the environmental impact.
Oh, okay.
On the road and the homes and the swales and the trees there. But that also requires environmental, okay, we have wildlife or trees. Has there been any study that reflects what the impact?
And again, I just want to make sure, because Jessica told me that the Historic Preservation Board has not even been approached yet, and there is no...
So early in the process. Right now we're just gauging your input to see if the project's moving forward.
Can I just ask you a really sort of basic question? Don't you think it's important to go to the board before you start spending money or applying for a grant to make sure that it applies with the historical statutes and all the historical residence regulations before you apply for the grant?
That is part of the process. But
Right.
the grant,
The grant was already in
it's serious.
Right, yeah, it was. That's a different issue. But what I'm saying is that the historic preservation, all of a sudden you come through the consensual process, you've already spent the grant, and they say, listen, I'm really sorry, but this doesn't meet the statutory historical issues, then you have to start it over again, right? Because they won't give you the permit.
Well, it's part of the process. With all these programs, with landscape, trees, floor, all, public works, we're all going to be vetting.
But you understand where I'm going, you understand what I'm saying, right?
The
You
grant
don't?
for construction.
No, I know, yeah. No, what I'm saying, I don't know, maybe I'm not speaking appropriately. Since this is a historic corridor, you have, there's statutes, there's not only statute, Florida statute, there's city ordinances. So
all the
if I could just.
city staff that are reviewers have been working and will continue to work all through the whole process.
No, but if I could, let me just finish my question because I want to make sure you understand what I'm saying. My question is, if you haven't gone to the Historic Preservation Board to make sure before the plan was instituted that it complies with whatever ordinances and statutes, then what happens now is you don't have their pre-approval. Because if I build a house, I have to get pre-approval for everything.
It's in order for them to do that analysis, but you understand, you need to,
Okay.
so we had to provide them.
Okay, fair enough.
Like, which design are we going to do?
No, I don't know.
If you're new to the, it's after 10 o'clock, and this is the second checkpoint. If you're new to the walkthrough, everyone is wearing
I get it now.
Hello? Everyone who's wearing a vest is part of the design team. And
That's actually what they have planned on the other side of the bridge. Like I said, there's a few people on the street that
also take a look at each individual location. So, for example, if you plan to
right. So, right, exactly. You're going to pay 8 feet out of it.
So, we're going to get two options. If you were at the community meeting, at that point in time, we had one option. And that option included distributed bike lanes. So the roadway travel lanes would be narrowed to 10 feet wide instead of what the current width is. And you would have a 5-foot bike lane adjacent to it. After talking with property owners, we came up with another option, and that option is to have 2 8-foot shared use paths, and this is 8 feet wide. So this is an example of what that shared use, the size of that shared use path would be. In addition, at this particular location, because we already have it 8 feet wide, the roadway, assuming this is 24 feet wide, the grass would be, you have more swale added. So it would be additional green space. Now this would exist on both sides of the road. Kind of this would be a yes. So if you were southbound, you want to be on the right side of the road, just like if you were driving a car. So people who are southbound would be coming here. It would be painted. You'd have the marking on there that would tell you which direction to go. And so this would be here, and on the other side of the street, and the roadway would be here. Additional space.
The payment is 25 and a half feet.
25 and a half?
Give or take.
So you would get a little over 2 feet on each side.
Why would you even need to narrow the street?
It slows people down. When you have narrow roadways, it slows people down.
I questioned that Davis.
Okay.
But do they have a study? Do they have a study?
Yeah, we do.
You do?
Yeah, but the results only show 4% decrease. Okay, and that's nothing, that's 1.5.
It depends on the facility.
But you have a, so
We
you have
took
a traffic.
your study. We took your study. I'm basing it on your study.
It wasn't my study, it's
What you gathered. Yeah, what you gathered.
Yeah.
So there's a study. So 4% is nothing.
I understand. You're saying this is not a protected bike path. But if you're riding right 23 miles an hour, you're going to not right. You're going to ride in the street, which makes it.
Okay, so then why would we have 2 bike paths, one here and one there?
Because they're very fast cyclists who are athletes and are confident and are comfortable riding with traffic, and that's like 4% of the people. And then there's like a lot of other people, maybe 60% of the population is interested in riding but concerned about their safety, sharing the lanes of traffic, and they want to be respectful.
But do they want to be right next to a pedestrian? Wasn't that one of the questions before, that bikers did not want to be on the same pathway?
Well, there are-
Because in Coral Gables, from what I understand, the only place that bikers are not allowed is Miracle Mile.
On the sidewalk.
Exactly. So what you're proposing is what we presently have.
And this particular, yes, in this particular location, yes.
At this location.
Okay, let's
Okay, so
move.
what happens over here? Because we're. What happens to the dump where they put the trash and the yard waste if you're going to be taking 10 feet? So that's. Yeah.
That's, we're not taking I'm not really sure you got that. No. So, where is your house?
Right here.
Okay. So, here, there's your house. Right. So,
My trees are right smack in the middle of the trees. Not my trees.
that sidewalk is wide.
Right, and this is more narrow.
So what would happen is, I don't know who has the tape measure, but from here,
Somebody step on that?
who has the paint?
What happens in the street?
So we have our landscape professionals somewhere.
Lena, what happens to the street? If we widen the sidewalk.
But this is also a bike path.
It's a share use.
Yes.
We're gonna look at each tree. Individual paths do not have to be perfectly straight. In some cases, they might jog. In certain cases, they might be a few inches narrower to accommodate tree roots. We're gonna protect the trees.
And the areas on the route, I think there's different materials that can be added.
There are different
so
materials
that-
other than poured concrete
Right.
we're going to investigate that are more flexible to go over tree roots. Flags of sidewalks can be raised up and mounted over tree roots. We can do all kinds of things.
Let me ask you a question, if you don't mind. There's an old street getting to Bird Road. That's right on the street. It's been there probably 70 years. I care about preserving it. How are you going to deal with that? It's like right
We're going to look
for the
at
bike
that.
path.
Can we look at it?
Yeah.
I don't know if I can walk that much. My knee hurts.
This hour is supposed to end at Bird Road.
Right, but the trees. I used to see when I was a kid. It was there. I'm not no kid.
There's a lot of that going around.
Well, I know. Yeah, you're right. Rocky. And they're running 35 miles after the bridge.
The bike lanes, the pavement, or the path on the side, yes, there will be
You're
some.
only giving us 2 options. The third option is we don't want it at all, right? Am I correct here?
Well,
That is a third option.
I mean,
right? That is
I
the third
I guess potentially. I mean, as it stands right now, it's funded. We're going through the process, but
Okay, that is a third option. You
Is
don't
the
want it.
funding include maintenance down the road? Because there's areas of sidewalk where the tree roots grow underneath and no one's taking care of them. You know, this whole entire section from here to Bird Road, none of the lights work.
Yeah.
Well,
And I've called
it's totally
numerous
dark.
times.
You know, Coral Gables doesn't take care of what we have.
okay. So the way our code is written right now, the maintenance of sidewalks is responsibility of the property owner unless it's damaged by our trees. So if it's something to do with these trees, then we should be addressing them. I did notice a few areas where we're grinding them down. If we find a location now that needs to be taken care of, we will make sure that that does happen.
And so, and what about the big garbage and the cranes?
The big,
on
I'm sorry, what?
10-foot big garbage trucks and the crane pickup on a 10-foot narrower street? and then you have bikers. I mean, there's
That's
going
what-
to be an accident. My husband and I are in medical field, so we're just waiting for the first person to get killed. And so then they'll happen in front of our house, and then they sue everybody.
The bicyclists are already here. We're already having bicycles passing by,
But not too often it's going to be met.
and
Yeah,
but that is going to increase. I mean, that's because that has been the tendency.
But there is
So
a bike path on Red Road.
nobody uses that because
So why don't you make it better?
Why not?
it's too dangerous.
This is dangerous too.
Quite the opposite. This is where
Alhambra is a
Look
big
at the one that's on
thoroughfare.
Alhambra north of Coral Way. No one uses that as well.
it's not connected anywhere.
What do you want to connect? It goes to
Ultimately, the underline.
Okay, but the 57th Avenue
goes
will
right
take
to the
you
underline.
Nobody's gonna use that. It's too dangerous.
dangerous from what?
Traffic.
And why did they put it?
It's state road.
DOT did a state road. It's a 35
I mean, did
mile
anyone
speed
think
limit.
about that before? But this is a 30 mile, so what's the
see,
difference?
so-
35
so
versus 30?
This is the way that DOT operates, right? DOT is governed in the state of Florida, in Tallahassee. The secretary takes input from his experts, and then you decide to do certain policies. One of the policies that they've adopted is complete streets. So every state project that they do of a certain nature has to include bicycle infrastructure. That's why 57th Avenue has bicycle infrastructure.
This lady here was just saying that the city cut the roots of the trees and it caused an unstable tree and it fell on and hit her house.
We do not want to disturb these trees. We're going to analyze each and every tree on a case-by-case basis.
That's everything, and we'll have to okay, 6 months is good right there.
And you know what? The state can mandate whatever they want. In the city of Coral Gables, if the residents don't want it, it won't hurt.
Ed?
Remember Riviera.
Ed, since you say the narrowing streets is a traffic calming method to decrease speeds, how many streets in Coral Gables have been narrowed? How come and we know speeding is an issue on every street in Coral Gables, or almost every street. How come this city has not implemented this throughout the
There have been a number of streets that have been narrowed.
I'm still waiting for that data.
Yeah, you'll get it.
That's silly. We've waiting years and waiting.
And so,
But if it was a valid traffic calming method, you would implement it more, okay? Because you're constantly resurfacing streets.